Well, what does a traditional Christmas mean to you? Odds are it's different than what the person next to you thinks of as a traditional Christmas. And you can get a whole smattering of what a traditional Christmas might look like if you attend the Little Opera Company's A Traditional Christmas this coming Friday. It's a biannual tradition that the Winnipeg Company presents, and you can see them welcome friends old and new to the stage at All Saints Anglican Church. Rob Herriot and Robert Campbell join me from the Little Opera Company to tell us more. Good morning, everybody.
Greetings.
Hello. Hello. So maybe before we get into the details of what this traditional Christmas looks like from the Little Opera Company, I'm going to ask both of you the same question. I'll start with you, Rob, to say, what does a traditional Christmas look like to you?
Well, as a child, I can tell you that every Christmas Eve, it was a tradition for us to go to the local United Church and on Christmas Eve and take in the lessons and carols. And this was not part of my family tradition because we were not members in the United Church, but my friend was, and so he would take me with his family. And all I remember is being in the back of the hall up on the second level and feeling a sense of warmth and a sustained hug, as it were, the lights going out, and the choir processing down the aisle with candles, singing Once in Royal David City. And it was an hour of absolute escape and the feeling that there was something so special about to happen. And then, of course, you'd listen to all the lessons and you'd hear the carols, which were brilliantly sung. And it was just a moment that just has stayed with me till this point in my life. You know, I will never forget that feeling of just being safe.
Yeah.
And in a time of escape, being somewhere else.
I love that coziness that you described. Robert, what about for you? What was the traditional Christmas like for you?
Well, I grew up in a small rural community, and so it was essentially related to the church and also the school. You know, the school would have a Christmas concert of sorts. So it sort of can be summarized with those two events. But to pick up on what Rob was saying, I think that's the ambiance that we want to create with this traditional Christmas concert with the Little Opera Company and friends, is to take a moment of that hectic nature that can be Christmas preparation, and to allow people to just take 90 minutes to come into All Saints Anglican Church, a beautiful environment, and to just take a moment of repose and appreciate really good music from from myriad artists.
I was just about to say, as you were talking about All Saints, that as you were talking, Rob, that image of the candles that fits so well into the ambience of that space over on Broadway. So, okay, now we get down to brass tacks. What can people expect from this 90 minutes of repose that the Little Opera Company's offering?
I was saying to Rob as we were driving here that it's sort of like a smorgasbord. You go to a Christmas function and there's all sorts of dainties and food items in front of you. And this will allow you to sort of appreciate a wide variety of groups and emerging artists and seasoned artists, sort of a one-stop shop event. We've got choirs from sister high schools, so their tenor choir and treble choir, and their chamber choir, along with the Winnipeg Boys Senior Choir. The sister choir is led by Carol Boyce and the Winnipeg Boys Choir by Spencer Duncanson. And then we've got Novoci choir as well, of course, led by Justin Odwack and Sarah Summer. So we've got three great choirs along with emerging artists. Most of them are actually at University of Manitoba or have graduated from University of Manitoba. You would have seen Christopher Dunn in the role of Sarastava
Yes,
at the magic flute.
Yes.
Sarastral, sorry, magic flute. We have Ashley Schneeberger, who's a mezzo-soprano. We've got Sloane Smith, who's a soprano. And, of course, our guest artist is Rachel Landreth. And we have conducting Neil Weissensell. So we've got something for everyone. A
lot of dream teams in there. As you were describing those choirs, it struck me that there are a lot of young choirs in that room, and maybe that's in part to capture that sort of youthful Christmas spirit that you were alluding to, Rob. As you were planning all of this as a team here, is that something that was conscious in your mind to try and capture that sort of youthful approach to the holidays?
I think it was. Of course, I wasn't in on the planning, but in the discussions that we had, there was always the focus on, no, I want to go to these younger people for this concert. And they're brilliant emerging artists, right? Yeah. So, and they need a place to jump off from. So that was my understanding.
Yeah, well, and that's
how it came about.
And that's something that the Little Opera Company does so well, is to champion those rising stars within Winnipeg's music community. Ashley Schneeberger comes to mind as somebody who recently won the Rose Bowl as an example. So as you think about all of these different elements combining, what do you think people will see as traditional within the concert offerings for this?
Did you want to talk about the composers a little bit, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, we do have some very traditional carols that it's funny because we hear them every single year. But there's something magical. At our last Christmas concert, which was 2 years ago, there was something that was that the space was transformed by something as simple as, what was it that she sang? Rejoice greatly. You know, how many times have we heard that? Right. She opened her mouth, sang, and it was remarkable. And I think that's what we can expect from this concert, in that there is such a variation of traditional and some new music that it will lend itself to that traditional kind of concert.
And we've got a little bit of Scott, a little bit of Mendelssohn, a little bit of
Franck,
Forrest. We've got a little Amy Grant in there as well.
And of course Handel. We've got Handel.
Yeah, of course.
You can't have Christmas without Handel, right?
From Handel to Amy Grant. What a
I mean,
range.
Really, right?
That's amazing.
Did I mention smorgasbord previously?
Indeed.
So unlike going to see the Messiah, for example, which everyone does at Christmas or Easter, and you know you're going to get 3 hours of Handel, and you go for that. Yeah. This is kind of like being in one of those old European cities where the streets turn every 4 feet and you're in a different corridor.
Sure. So, that's a lovely image as people are walking through this.
Yeah. So you're never in one place for very long.
Okay. But I also want to get back to the fact that, with your original question, just that sense of community. Yeah. Coming together, taking a moment to just stop and as a community come together and appreciate a traditional Christmas and all of the values that are connected with that.
Now, with that being said, we have to point out that there is a sing-along.
Yes.
Oh, good.
There is a sing-along part to this concert in which there are, I'm not even sure how many.
3 or 4.
3 or 4 at least.
And this was part of, this is all thanks to Winnipeg Arts Council and their City of Song. It is, it's through funding from Winnipeg Arts Council that this was also able to occur. And part of that is to bring people together, bring Winnipeggers together to sing along with some of their favorite carols.
Yeah. And it's remarkable how this project, I think there were some people saying, well, people aren't going to sing. We did this at the opera, and everybody who partook sang.
Yeah.
So I think people just want that, especially at a Christmas concert. You want to sing Christmas carols.
And there's nothing like having a church resonating with an organ.
Well, especially that church.
That organ in particular.
To make you want to get up and sing, even if you may not have the technique to sing. I'm speaking from experience.
No, not
technique is overrated.
Preach. You talk about that like opportunity for people to just be able to join in, not just in song, which Winnipeggers are so good at doing, but also joining in community, which of course we know how to do, if only to, bundle up together for warmth in a colder season. Little Opera Company is quite known for putting on these maybe unconventional sorts of performances, things that you might not see in a more traditional opera stage. How do you think that sort of ethos of the Little Opera Company to present things that are a little bit unorthodox blends with things that are more traditional here around the holidays?
I think there are times when, as you said, with the Little Opera Company, we look at more 21st century operas. If we look at the Walk from the Garden that we did in March, there was a real focus on, the importance of sustainability and are we good stewards of the earth? Mm-hmm. There's a place for that. There's a place for provoking conversation, encouraging conversation, but there's also a place to, getting back to what Rob said, just sort of allowing yourself to be wrapped up in the warmth of the Christmas tradition. And there's nothing wrong with being a company that can embrace both.
Yeah. What do you take away from all these different ensembles, Rob, and how do you think how do you notice that they complement one another as they mesh together, opera artists, choirs, and this mixture of emerging and professional artists? Is it, you talk about the smorgasbord before, Robert. How do the different crackers and cheeses and eggnogs or mulled wine or what have you, how do they all blend?
I think beautifully, actually, because everyone brings something different to it. And just like not going to see the Messiah, where you're getting, what you're getting. This is just a beautiful mixture of different experiences, different levels. The soloists are emerging, right? Yeah. So they are finding their way, and there's nothing more exciting. When we go and see an established artist, we kind of know what we're going to get, and that's why we go, because we're attracted to that. In this concert, we're sharing. The audience is sharing the excitement of watching a new artist grow, especially the choirs, what their sound is, what their style is. So I think it's the variation throughout the evening, throughout the 90 minutes, that lends itself to being very exciting.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about the vocalists, but we also have a string quartet. We've got Lisa Rumpel on piano. We've got the organ. We have Cameron Denby as percussionist. Like, we have a number of really well-known Winnipeg instrumentalists who are going to be able to perform as well. So you have the instrumental portion of it, and you'll have the vocalist portion of it, and the sing-along portion of it. Yeah,
it's funny because the quartet, even if you just wanted to watch the quartet, that would be an evening of inspiration because they play as one. It's kind of amazing to watch them and to hear how clean they are. And of course, Cam is also really great to watch. You remember from Walk from the Garden.
I have very little memory except for that I'm very exposed up here. Although, okay, maybe the last question for both of you is, you've talked about these traditional Christmases that you experienced, and everybody who comes to watch a traditional Christmas is going to have their own perceptions of what a traditional Christmas is. How would you say that a concert like this informs maybe new perspectives on tradition for people?
Well, I think I'll just jump in here, Rob, if you don't mind. We talked about the variety of composers.
Yeah.
We've talked about the variety of the connection between emerging artists and established artists, instrumentalists, because there is a little bit of everything for everyone. You may not appreciate one particular element as much as another particular element, but you may also discover something that you've never discovered before, right? So it's that marriage of what is familiar with what is new, and learning something different or appreciating something different or discovering a composer you've never heard of before.
Yeah.
That's the most exciting thing about a concert with this much variation. You just never know when something's going to hit you and land and inspire you. That happened during the concert 2 years ago. There was a piece that Veldin Anderson's choir did, and I've listened to that thing probably 872 times because it just inspired me so much. And I had no idea that it even existed. So you just never know when a piece of music is going to push that button that takes you to another realm.